Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm just going to go through my outlook for this week. Last week was a pretty good week in that a lot of the analysis I did kind of played out to some extent, and I did manage to catch like 2 or 3 setups, and I'll talk you guys through those setups as I'm kind of going through the charts. I wouldn't go through them in any great detail, but I'll just kind of scan them over. Just some housekeeping as well. I added a fan to this laptop that I've been using to do recording, so just in case you guys hear a buzzing sound in the background, it's just that fan that I've added to kind of help with some heating issues I've been experiencing. Anyway, so I'll start with AUDCHF. So this one didn't actually set up last week. I was looking for that deeper pullback to these previous lows, but we didn't see that pullback happen. Instead, price just kind of rolled over from where it was. The analysis for me is still the same. I'm still going to wait for that pullback because we failed to break this low, right? If we had broken that low, then I'd look to trade off of this low, but we didn't actually have that full retest. So I'm just going to wait to see if price wants to pull back from where it is now. If it does and it achieves this level, then I'll still be interested in trading this level. So analysis is pretty much still the same. AUDJPY. So this one did set up, and I did take an entry on this one. I did have a later entry than I wanted. All right, I wanted to enter here on the close of this candle. So I'll just kind of zoom in. All right, so I wanted to enter right here. This was my entry candle, right? But I think this set up within London, right? So I think that's like the 1 a.m. candle, and then that was the 5 a.m. candle. So I entered when I woke up after this. We had this kind of pullback on this candle just here. So this was my entry candle after that pullback. It was close enough to the original entry. I had to reduce my risk reward substantially, but it was still a valid setup, right? And I wanted to get involved. So that was a setup I took this week. I mean, unfortunately, it turned a 4-hour trade into basically a 2.2-hour trade, right? So that kind of sucks, but it still was a profitable entry, still was a profitable trade. So I'm happy with any kind of profit you can pull out of the market, right? So on this pair, what I'm going to be looking for this week is hopefully I'd like to see a crack of this low, right? So we're currently sitting at these previous lows, right? I would like to see a nice strong daily close beneath that low, and then I'll look for scaling opportunities, right? So I've already booked partial profits here at the previous lows. So I'm just waiting to see if this full target will be achieved, which is just we just zoom out a little bit. It's just these previous highs just here, this previous resistance turn support area. That would be my kind of final target. So I'll look for possible scaling opportunities on the lower time frames if we get a nice strong daily close beneath that zone, and might see price kind of tap back up to retest, and if it does, then I'll look to get involved. AUDUSD. Right, so on this pair, this one actually did play out as expected. So I was just looking for that retest of this level here, just that entry confirmation I was waiting on. And the entry confirmation did come on this candle, right? So just after this kind of morning star formation just here. So we had that indecision candle followed by a candle that closed 50%, within 50% of that previous bullish candle. So that did set up, and this would have been a pretty good entry, but I think that was the 1 a.m. Yes, so that was the 1 a.m. candle for me, so I wasn't able to take an entry, but the trade would have worked out. What I'm gonna wait for now is a continuation from where price is now. So I'd like to see a nice strong impulsive continuation, and then a slower retracement back to the broken lows, so this previous level here, so these currently broken lows, and then look for that continuation. All right, CADCHF. So this one didn't actually pull back to the level I wanted it to pull back to. I was hoping to see price pull back to this previous order block just here, just tightening up price before this explosive move. So we had this kind of drop base rally kind of formation here, so just this order block, but we didn't see price pull back to that level. So instead we saw price respect the previous daily lows. All right, so just this level here, so that's the previous structural low here on the daily time frame. And I mean, so that did set up, right? But I didn't get an entry because of how impulsive price moved off of the level, right? So as soon as price got to the level, it just had this massive sell-off, right? Typically, I like to see price pull back to the level, have a rejection on the 4-hour time frame, and then find entries on the 1-hour time frame. But that that didn't actually play out for me, right? So there's no rejection here. I mean, yes, there was rejection, but the sell happened straight away on the same candle. So there was no setup there for me. So what I'm going to be paying attention to now is just to see price, if price wants to continue pushing lower. I'd like to see a nice strong impulsive break of the previous lows. So right where price is now, I'd like to see a strong break of the previous lows here. Slow retracement back to the level, get some rejection, and then look for continuation. CADJPY, so this one did set up and play out as expected. So we did analysis back here where I was saying on Sunday it very well might be ready to go. So it did set up and it did play out, but I obviously didn't take an entry. But you know, I'm still happy to see the analysis play out. So what I'll be waiting for here on this pair is I'd like to see that sign of continuation. So I'd like to see a nice strong impulsive break lower. If that does happen, then I'll just look for that slower retracement. Just like CADCHF, slower retracement back to the level, get that rejection, entry reason, and then look for continuation. I don't think that's probably gonna happen. Instead, what I think might happen is we very well might see price kind of pull and reverse from here, right? So we very well might see price kind of range within this level for a while. I don't know, right? So we very well might see that kind of start to happen, right? We might see a range start to play out here because we had this move already play out, and we saw that kind of bounce off of this level. And I'm pretty sure if we look at the RSI, we'll probably see some divergence here as well, right? So we had equal lows here, and it's actually a lower low on price and higher lows on the RSI, right? So it just shows that the momentum into the previous low is quite weak. So you know, it's just waiting to see what price wants to do, but I very well expect to see some kind of a reversal kind of happen from here. But I'm not going to trade that scenario. I'm only going to look for that continuation type scenario. CHFJPY. So this one is currently playing out as kind of expected, right? So that's kind of something to pay attention to, right? So if you see, typically what I've noticed, right? It doesn't happen all the time, but typically what I tend to see happen over and over is if you see a strong impulsive move and then there's a pullback, so you see that pullback happen after that strong impulsive move, whether you trade the pullback or not, if you don't get a break, so if you don't see that price breaks the previous low after the pullback, like almost immediately after the pullback, typically you're going to start to see price start to range afterwards, and that's exactly what kind of happened, right? So we had that impulsive break of previous structure here, we pushed, we formed that lower low on price, we formed a lower high on price, but we failed to form a lower low after this low, right? So we formed a higher low, lower high, lower low, equal high, and currently what seems like a higher low, right? So we're just kind of stuck in this range from here. And that tends to happen over and over again. So so I'm happy I didn't actually look for any entries this week on this pair, but I'm happy to see my analysis kind of play out as expected. So what we wait to see now is just to see a impulsive move in either direction, right? So it's clearly accumulating orders. The bias for me will be to the downside, right? Because we might have this kind of flat flag formation. So we very well might see from here price just kind of have that impulsive continuation lower, right? But I'll wait patiently on this one, hopefully wait to see a kind of break of the range and then look for continuation, right? This zone here, let me just have a quick look. Yeah, it doesn't fill me with confidence that the range is happening right at this previous level of resistance. So I'm just gonna be patient on this one, wait for something very, very clear to set up, and then I'll take trading opportunities. So it'll remain on red for me. Euro AUD. So this one is this one played out as expected, as per analysis last week, right? So we had a retest of the previous structure high, had that rejection, and then I got my entry reason. Again, for this pair, this also set up within London for me. So I got a later entry than I wanted to. My entry actually came on the 1 hour time frame down here. So again, it's something that, you know, it's a little bit annoying to have your risk to reward reduced, but at the same time, it's still very good for me at least to have those profitable trades kind of come in, right? So I'm happy with the situation nonetheless. So what I'm gonna wait to see on this pair is just to see if price wants to break the previous high. All right, so I've already scaled out of half of the position, so this isn't my final target. I just kind of have it drawn in like that. So I'm just gonna wait to see if price breaks this previous high. I'm gonna wait to see if it does it, how it does it. So hopefully I'd like to see a nice strong impulsive break of this previous high. If that does happen, then I'll probably look for scaling opportunities here, right? So I'll look for probably a price action like this, look for a scaling opportunity at the previous high, and then look for that continuation. I am aware that price is kind of pulling into the highs of the channel, right? But you know, I'm just gonna play it out with price action and just kind of follow whatever the market tells me, right? So that's that for this pair. EUROJPY. So this one was so close to setting up the way I wanted it to. It was very close to my trading level, but instead it kind of respected this previous high here. It didn't actually get back to the previous low that I wanted to trade off of, but you know, it kind of played out almost, right? But you know, it didn't get to my trading level. So what I'll be waiting for on this pair now, it'll just be this kind of the same, right? So I want to see a nice strong impulsive break of the previous lows. So from where price is now, I'd like to see that impulsive break of the previous lows here. All right, slower retracement back to the level, get that entry reason, and then look for continuation. Again, so just like CADJPY, I don't think that's probably gonna happen because I'm pretty sure that's divergent as well on the RSI. So yep, so we have divergence here back into those previous lows. So we very well might see price kind of range from here or have that kind of reversal, right? But like I said, I'm not going to be interested in trading those. I just want to see price continue with the current market structure and just look for that continuation of trend. That's all I'm going to be interested in. EURUSD. So on this pair, I figured I'd just kind of go through some live analysis with you guys, as I didn't really do analysis on the pair for some time. As I was kind of going through it this morning, I figured it might be a good example to kind of go through live with you guys to kind of show you how the stories I tell myself when I'm trying to form a trend bias or a trade direction bias when doing analysis on the market, right? So typically I'll just like to start one time frame higher than my trading time frame or my entry time frame. Well, I guess my trading time frame, right? Because the 4 hour time frame is where I make my trading decisions, but I take entries mostly on the 1 hour time frame. So the time frame for me to do analysis will be the daily time frame, right? And I'll just kind of look at the daily time frame loosely and just kind of look to see what price is doing. And what I'll typically do is I'll kind of look left to see and ask myself a simple question, right? Is price to the left of the screen lower or higher than where price is right now, right? And in this instance, it's quite clearly lower than where price is right now, right? So chances are we're probably moving higher, right? And that's what's kind of happening, right? We can quite clearly see we have this low here, we have a high, we have a higher low, higher high, higher low. Well, we kind of have this double bottom area, right? Higher low, higher high, higher low. Interestingly here though, we have a lower high, right? And this kind of comes back to what I was saying before on one of the previous pairs, where typically, it doesn't happen all the time, but typically, at least in my experience, what I've noticed is if we have that kind of pullback, right? So we had that pullback here and we had a move higher, right? And we failed to meet or break the previous high or the previous structure level. Typically what you might tend to start seeing happen is a range in price, right? So we might end up kind of seeing price kind of range here for a little bit before we get that next impulsive breakout, right? So we very well might kind of see this tightening of price here. I don't know, right? So it's just, it might happen, I don't know, but you know, we might kind of see that kind of price action starting to form. So what I'll tend to do from here is just I'll kind of look to see based on the last previous high, because my bias is quite clearly to the upside because we're moving higher, even though we failed to break that previous high. So what I'll do, I'll just look at the highest point and then identify the lowest point before that highest point was formed, right? And that's that lowest point here. And then I'll just kind of pull a trend line to kind of see what is most obvious, right? So this here is obviously the most obvious low. So I'll just connect those two lows and just extend it to the future, right? And then we kind of see prices kind of sitting here at this low as it stands, right? And I'll just, because we formed that lower high as well, I'll probably just do the same for the highs. I don't care too much about the highs, but you know, if I do get an entry, I want to be aware of where this current trend line is in terms of probably taking profits, right? I don't know if this is actually what's going to happen, but you can kind of see here we're kind of having the start of what might look like a kind of flag formation, right? Especially because we formed that lower high, failing to break this high, we might very well kind of just see this kind of flag formation play out, right? I don't know if it's going to happen, but we very well kind of might see that flag formation, right? And possibly have that impulsive break higher. I don't know, but it's a possibility. All right, so I'm kind of done with the daily time frame here, and loosely, because my bias is to the upside, I'll just kind of look at the RSI to see if there's any divergence being formed. And if I'm looking for continuation, I want to probably see hidden divergence, right? Just to kind of get that confirmation of continuation, right? So I'll look at the current lows. So we currently have price here, so this is the last previous low, and this is where price is now, right? So I just want to see if we're being divergent, or we have hidden divergence. So I'll just kind of connect the low of the RSI and connect those lows, and you can see here we're having lower lows on the RSI whilst we're forming higher lows on price. So based on the daily time frame, we're having hidden divergence being formed as it stands, right? So that's me done with the daily time frame. So then I'll jump to the 4-hour time frame, and then I'll just kind of start again, right? So I'll just kind of look at price to see, all right, price to the left of the screen versus where price is now. Is it moving lower? Is it moving higher, right? And quite clearly we're moving lower on the 4-hour time frame. But what's most important for me, because I'm aware of this trend line here, this possible trend line here, I want to see what price is doing when it's coming into the trend line, right? And just looking at this price action here, you can quite clearly see that we had this strong sell move, this strong bearish move here, pushing price lower, breaking past this previous structural level. When the bias took over, it was very, very weak buying pressure. But then more interestingly, right, we had weak selling pressure followed by that weak buying pressure. And what that shows me, right, is that even though the sellers are taking over, they aren't able to push price much lower than they pushed it before, right? And you can quite clearly kind of see that by just pulling a trend line, right? So I'm just going to connect this high, so last high that I'm interested in, connected to these previous highs here. Right, so we're just kind of connecting the highs of this kind of corrective movement, and I'll do the same for the lows. Right, so I'll connect the low of this corrective movement to these previous lows here, and we have this kind of corrective, I guess, like this downward flag formation, right? So what I'm interested in seeing more than the kind of chart pattern formation is the angle of the two lines, right? So you can quite clearly see the line of the lows isn't as steep as the line of the highs, right? So that's even, you know, it's quite a drastic difference, right? So that's telling me quite clearly that the sellers are struggling to push price lower than they did before. Yes, they are pushing price lower, but it's not as strong as they were able to do it before, right? And you can quite clearly see that here, right? And that's kind of me more or less done with the 4-hour time frame, right? I mean, in terms of analysis. So all I like to do from here is just kind of see if we having maybe like regular divergence pulling into that trend line area, right? And you can quite clearly see here on the RSI that we having higher lows on price, right? I'm sorry, higher lows on the RSI while we're forming lower lows on price. So, you know, price is quite clearly divergent moving into that trend line area. So that even kind of further confirms for me that the momentum moving into that level or moving into the trend line is quite weak, even though we having that downward movement. So now, because I've kind of confirmed that we have that weak momentum into the level, all I'd like to see from here is just that shift in structure, right? So I'd like to see a shift in structure back into some uptrend structure on the forward time frame to then start getting involved in possible long opportunities for continuation in the major daily kind of trend direction, right? So the high I'm interested in is this structural high here, right? Because this is the last structural high for me. Even though we did form this high, once we broke this low here, this is the structural high for me. And then I'd like to see that high being broken before I'm getting interested in long opportunities, right? So I'm just going to identify that level here on the chart. So from here, what I'd like to see is price push impulsively higher. So I'd like to see a nice strong break higher, slow retracement back, rejection, and then look for continuation. That's what I'd like to see probably happen. I'm also going to pay attention to if price breaks, if price does impulsively break higher, right? So if we do see price break higher, if we kind of form resistance here at this previous level, I'll wait to see what price does, and if it comes back and maybe tests the high of this trend line, right? If that does happen, I may also be interested in taking long opportunities there, right? It depends on what price action develops and how it develops. I'll make trading decisions as and when it does, right? And that's pretty much it. And in terms of kind of price target levels, if it does play out, I'm very interested in here, this level here, because that's the last previous low before that massive impulsive move. So I'm going to be very interested in seeing what price does if it gets back here. And so that for me would be a nice, solid, safe take profit level. Equally, obviously, we have the daily trend line here. So obviously, if this level is broken, then, you know, I'll probably look to target this previous high. But, you know, not this previous high, the trend line just here, right? So, but, you know, it all kind of depends on what develops and how price action develops. You know, it could just start pushing lower from where it is now, and then all this analysis is in vain. But, you know, this is kind of what I'm looking at on this pair, GBP AUD, nothing much really to see here. Still waiting on that kind of impulsive move to push price higher. We did kind of have an impulsive candle right here on the forward time frame, but it didn't really push price much higher, right? So I just kind of still waiting to see if we kind of have that strong impulsive move. I'll kind of move my zone there now. So that's what I'm looking at from here. Just that impulsive move from where price is now, pull back, retest, and then look for continuation. GBPCAD, this one, yeah, still kind of just waiting on that kind of impulsive move. We did kind of push higher here, but this price action is way too messy for me. This obviously didn't play out. I don't know why that's still there. Get rid of this zone here. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of keep scanning these pairs throughout the week just to see if we have any breakouts. GBPCHF, so this one, there's nothing really clear on this one for me. I did take a trading opportunity here, right here, once price kind of pulled back, gave some rejection at the level. I moved my stops to break even at 1 hour, and then it pushed up and took me out at break even. And it's just kind of been messy and rangy ever since. So what I'll be waiting for on this pair, if I just kind of clean this up a little bit. Right. So all I'll be waiting for on this pair is just to see what price does from where it is now. These lows here are very interesting to me. If we can see price push lower impulsively past these lows, right? So if we see price push into this level, it might very well kind of rebound and start pushing higher, but I'm not interested in that. I'd like to see a push lower, breaking past these previous lows, get that retest of the previous lows, rejection, and then look for continuation. GBPJPY, so this one is kind of messy this week for me. There wasn't really any trading opportunities for me. I can kind of delete these levels now. I'll leave this one on here. It was respected. And actually, just kind of eyeballing this here. It might very well kind of be this trend line. Yeah, look at that. Okay, cool. So Yeah, I mean, this one, it remains red for me. It's still kind of messy price action. The clearest move for me will be a break of this low here, right? A break of the structural level here with an impulse, like an impulsive break of the level. But the way that price is kind of moving now, it's kind of strongly respecting this trend line, right? Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if price kind of pulls back here, confluence with this trend line, maybe form like this double top within like a little range that may form, right? So if price kind of pulls back from where it is now and we kind of stuck in a little range here, then I may be interested in trading off of this high again, right? Off of this level again, right? Maybe, and if it does kind of confluence with this trend line here, then you know that might be of interest for me. The clearer opportunity for me would be an impulsive move from where price is now, obviously breaking past these previous lows, right? If that does happen, then I'll look for a retest of those broken lows and then look for a continuation. So yeah, so if price kind of ranges within here, right? So kind of, I guess this will be the low, right? So if price kind of ranges within here and it gets back to this previous high, confluence with that trend line, then you know maybe I'll be interested in making trading decisions there, but just kind of wait to see what happens. GBPUSD. So on this pair, nothing really set up on this one, right? So I was hoping to see that kind of continuation higher, that kind of impulsive move higher, but that didn't happen. So I can kind of just clean this up a little bit. And then I was also saying that price may pull back into this previous structure level here, which it did, but there were no entry opportunities, right? There's very kind of clear, messy kind of price action, right? Price clearly broke through the level, kind of disrespected the trend line. So all of this here just was really, really messy to me. And price just obviously ended up just moving lower. So let me just clean this up a little bit. I'm gonna leave this pair on my list this week. But there's no super clear trading opportunities for me. The only reason I'm keeping it on the list is because of where price is sitting now, right? We're kind of at this daily zone, right? We have this massive daily zone just here where price is kind of sitting currently. So I'm just want to see what price does if there's kind of any impulsive moves off of the level. If there is, then I want to probably be involved in some kind of movement. So I'll just change this to red actually here. So if we kind of see this week on the daily time frame, if we see a kind of push into the level here, maybe matching these lows, I'll wait to see what price does. If there's a nice rejection there with some entry reasons, then I'll probably look for that kind of continuation, right? Because you know, it's clear to me we're in this uptrend here on the daily. So even though we kind of started to range more recently, but my bias is still for long opportunities. NZDCAD. So on this pair, we had the second of the, well, we had one of two scenarios kind of play out, right? So we are either looking for that impulsive break lower, which obviously didn't happen. Instead, we started to see price push higher with some okay price action. But to be honest, I'm probably going to change this pair to red because there's nothing super clear on it for me. We're currently sitting at these previous highs, right? So at this area of resistance just here. Right, so we're currently sitting at this current area of resistance. But so if I do see a nice strong impulsive push higher, like a nice strong break higher, I'll look for that kind of retracement back to this previous level. All right, hopefully see some rejection at the level and then look for continuation. I don't think that's a high probability. I don't think that there's a high probability of that setting up. I think what might actually happen is we might just kind of be stuck in this in a lower range here for some time. I don't know, but I think that's probably a little bit more likely. So I'll just kind of pay attention to see what price is going to do this week. If it does anything, then I'll be aware of it, right? NZDCHF. So on this pair, I was hoping to see price pull back into this previous structure level here, which it did, right? But we didn't get any entry reason, so I didn't actually take any trading opportunities, which is a good deal too, because this would have been really frustrating. So we had price pull back into the structure level here. We had that rejection on that doji candle, but the very next candle was a very bullish candle closing above the zone. So that invalidated the trade for me, and there was no entry candle there for me. So there was no trade that took place on this pair. And in actuality, looking at the price action as it stands, right, I'm probably gonna remove this pair from my list this week. There's nothing super clear setting up here for me, right? I mean, if we do have any kind of clear market structure starting to form, like if we see price impulsively start to push lower, then maybe, you know, there might be something there for me. But you know, as it stands now, it's really messy, so I'll probably just remove it from the list this week. NZDJPY. So on this pair, this actually did kind of set up, but there was no entry reason for me. So when I did analysis back here, I was saying that price could, because of where price is now, it could very well respect this previous low and start to push lower. But I wasn't interested in trading that level, right? I was more interested in trading the last structural level here, which is where price kind of pulled back to. So even though it did pull back to the level, there was no entry reason, right? There we got the rejection here at the level, but the very next candle was a bullish candle closing above the zone, right? So this here was invalidated for me, so there was no entry opportunities there. I mean, yes, price did push lower. I don't know if I don't think I would have gotten stopped out, because the rejection candle, my stops would have been above the rejection candle. So yes, it would have been somewhat of a profitable trade, but you know, this would have been a frustrating trade for me. What I'll wait to see here on this pair, let me just clean this up a little bit. Yeah, so what I'll wait to see on this pair is if I just kind of pull a trend line, like, you know, something like this, right? I don't know, it's not super clear, because you know, we kind of maybe seeing like a corrective kind of flag, right? We're probably kind of seeing this kind of corrective kind of flag movement here, right? So if I do get a break of that flag, so if we do break this trend line here, maybe retest with rejection, maybe that might be something I'm interested in. It's not the super clearest opportunity for me, so I'm gonna leave it as red and see what price does, right? See if price develops and how it develops. NZDUSD. So again, this one is kind of playing out as expected, right? So another example of failing to break the low after that pullback, right? So we had the pullback, we failed to break the low, and we're currently stuck in the range as expected, right? So it's just gonna keep it on the list as well, just to see if we have that impulsive break of this range, and if we do, then I'll make trading decisions as and when it happens. USDCHF. Analysis on this one is still the same. Just waiting on that pullback still. It almost got there this week, but it didn't quite. So just being patient on this one. This is the only level I'm interested in trading. So analysis is still the same. I can delete that now. Just kind of update it from here, right? So just kind of waiting for that pullback into the level. Hopefully get some rejection and then look for that continuation. USDCAD. So this one played out as expected as well. So we had price obviously pull back into the level. This is where I did analysis last week, and I was saying that we might very well see price push higher from where it was now, and that obviously did happen, right? So what I'll be waiting for on this pair now is just see if price wants to break this high, this current high where it is now. All right, so we have kind of this zone here, right? So what I'd like to see is price push higher impulsively. So continue moving from where it is now, push higher, pull back to kind of around this area, right? Look for that rejection and then hopefully get an entry reason and then look for continuation. That's what I'm going to be looking for on this pair. I don't know if it'll happen. It very well might just start to push lower. I'm pretty, that looks like it'll probably be divergent as well. So from this high, yeah, so if we just kind of, we're having a higher high on price, but lower highs on the RSI, right? So we very well might see price just kind of pull back from where it is now. So we very well might see price just kind of start to push lower, which is cool too. I wouldn't be interested in trading that unless there's a shift in structure here on this time frame. And the last pair here for me this week would be USDJPY. This one, so I didn't take any trading opportunities here. I would have liked to see a retest of this level right here. This is where I would have liked to get my entry reason, but price pushed higher. Yes, it did impulsively break lower, but you know, it wasn't a very clear trading opportunity for me, so I didn't take any entries. What I'd like to see now is just a break of these lows here. All right, so a nice strong impulsive break of these lows here, which would be at the daily lows. So I'd like to see a nice strong impulsive break of these lows here, get that retracement hopefully back to the broken lows, rejection of the level, right, and then looking for continuation. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the video there this week. If you guys made it this far, as usual, thank you for watching. Obviously, if you like what you see and you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. And if you think these videos would be useful to anyone else trying to get into trading or may gain some value from the way I kind of explain stuff, then just please feel free to share the videos with them. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.